Ian here from Easy Genie. What you're looking at right here is a birth register from the UK from the mid 1800s. I'm going to show you how to download this type of record from the UK GRO office. If this video helps, please take a moment to like it and follow me, and let's get started. So, in the course of testing my new Easy Genie Fillable Family Group Sheet PDF, I decided to do a little extra research into this guy. John Wallace died 1889. He's kind of a brick wall mystery. Every family has them. He's the only ancestor I have, the only great-great-grandparent I have who was born in the UK, Britain in particular, as far as I know. And trying to find his information has been really, really frustrating because he moved around a lot. He lived in Canada, he lived in the US, he was apparently born in northern England. So until now, I haven't really been able to find any information. So when I heard that the UK GRO office had recently lowered the price of downloading these types of registrations from their website to £2.50. I was pretty excited because that's much more affordable. I think it's like 1/3 the cost of what it was before. And compared to purchasing a copy of a US birth certificate from the 1800s, which usually costs me between $10 and $25 per record, and is a lot more cumbersome, this is a fantastic deal. So I'm going to walk through how to download a birth registration from this particular website, and just a couple warnings. It's a little bit kind of old school, this website. I think they're going to be updating it soon, certain aspects of it, but I found that there's a couple things that are a little frustrating and mysterious, but once you get the information you need and download the record, it's great, because this type of record, hold on here, this type of record here, this can really break through brick walls. And indeed, it helped me confirm something about this family I was curious about. So let's go back to the web. Basically, what you need to do is search Google or Microsoft Bing for UK GRO. You're looking for the General Register Office, and there might be a couple of links. Note that the GRO, they handle all kinds of things, like, it's part of His Majesty's Passport Office, and you might see links for downloading a passport. What you want to do is order certificates online. Note that these are, I'm just talking about historical records. I'm not talking about more modern records. So if you have an ancestor who was born between 1837 and I think it's about the 1925 or something, you can probably, here's a list right here. PDF for historic, let's see here. Well, they have different types of records, and they're at different periods that you can download them from. But anyways, I was interested just in the 1800s era birth records for the family. Once you get to this type of page, look for a registration login. Follow the steps to register for the website, and you'll see information about online ordering, registration, and login. Registration is free. You just need an email address. So you can see I used a personal email address. So I'm just going to log in using my information. You'll come to this particular page, and then you want to do order a certificate or PDF. The other thing you can do is search the GRO online index, but I found if you just go through the process of ordering a certificate or PDF or order a digital image, this is what I downloaded earlier. You'll get to search it anyway, so you don't need to do a separate search and then come back to here and order the image. Just go to order a digital image. It'll ask you birth or death. So I'm looking for the birth record. And then when was the birth registered? And you use this menu here, and you can see it goes further than the 1920s. But let's say I'm starting on 1850. So as you remember, maybe from a blog post or from my newsletter, and I've talked about this before, this particular family, John Wallace, so he died in 1889. We think he was born in 1835 based on his headstone, but Sarah Jane married her brother, and we do have a record of that. And the brother was younger, and the brother was born in around 1850. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to search 1850. Surname at birth is Wallace. And then the first forename is James. Okay. Second forename, that would be like the middle name. You do have to choose the sex. So I'm going to choose male. This other information here, mother's maiden surname, district of birth, these are optional. And actually, I think in many cases, people will not be people might not even know that information, or we'll have incomplete information. Same thing with this GRO reference details for the registration. You can get some of this information, I've discovered, from the family search index. But if, let's say, you don't know anything about the GRO reference details, you just have a name and a sex and a date. Let's just go with that. So what we're doing, 1850, Wallace James, male, and search. Now, one thing I discovered when I first did this is sometimes you may not get a really complete list of information. I'd like to point out something with these records. This is only 5 names, and James Wallace is a really, really common name. So when I first saw this, I knew that something was up here. And what happens a lot of the time is, because the index defaults to exact matches only, you're actually missing a lot of records. So what I recommend doing is doing similar sounding variations, and that will greatly expand the number of records you're going to get. Another thing you can do is you can set the, instead of just doing 1850, just kind of expand the range a little bit to 1 or 2 years. Note that if you choose 1837, which is the start of the records, and you choose 1 or 2 years plus or minus, it will only go after 1837. You can't get any records from before 1837. So let's change that. I changed it to similar sounding variations, and then plus or minus 1 years. And this would catch people sometimes. Maybe the registration happened in January, but they were born the year before. So let's see what turns up, and we should see a lot more records. Okay, scroll down, and yeah, you can see there's a lot more records. So I have 5 pages of records, 250 records in total. So I might need to do a lot more winnowing down of this particular information. One thing I've also found is that, as an American, we may not be really understanding of where these places are. Like Sheffield, I have a vague idea this is in the middle of England, but I'm not exactly sure where. Does that count as Northern England? Newcastle upon Tyne, that is in Northern England. I know that. Some of these other places, I don't even, like the Hitchin Union, I don't even recognize that name. I have no idea where they are. So at this point, what you might need to do is actually to get out a map of England, either a current one or a historical one, just so you can see kind of where these things are. So I knew Northern England. Actually, I did know Carlisle. So what I'm going to do is select that. And then you can see when you select one of these records, it'll say certificate, PDF, digital image. Note that certificate and PDF, these are more expensive, and in the case of certificate, it's going to be mailed, and I don't think that's very realistic for most online researchers. So what you want is the digital image. So application for an England and Wales birth registration record, and there's some other kind of qualifications you have to understand, and then you'll see a message that says digital image of the entry, standard £2.50. Image available to view once payment is complete, and a link to the images is provided on the order confirmation screen. Images also available to view via My Orders page for 3 months. So I want to say something about that. When you look at the images also available to view via My Orders, sometimes finding that image can be difficult because the GRO website, they ask for like a record number, and most people don't remember that. So what my recommendation is, after you pay for it and order it, download it right away. That's exactly what I did. That's how I got this particular record. I just was able to save it. So let's see, of course, quantity, you only want 1. Your reference, this is actually pretty useful. So what you can do is you can kind of put in a reference name like James W. and then 1850. There's a limited number of characters you can use, so just be aware of that, and then click submit. So now you're going to get a confirmation. Delivery details are going to email you a link, some more information about how they retain the records. At this point, you'd click submit, and then you'd have to enter your credit card information. I was able to use American credit cards. I can't remember if it was a Visa or MasterCard or American Express, but it worked for me. I was able to order 2 records for £2.50 each. It turned out to be like maybe $6 or $7. So this was a really affordable way to get a hold of these records. And basically what happens is you'll get a link to view this record. It will also show what each one of these columns mean. So at the very top of the screen when you're viewing it, it'll show, actually, let's see if we can find it. My orders. Yeah, this is frustrating to me, like the coal number or the start date or the end date. I mean, let's just see what happened when I press search. No, you have to give some information. Or start and end dates for the period you wish to view. So actually, I know that I ordered it in July the 7th, I think, or 6th. So what I'm going to do is to just give a range of dates there. One thing to note, in many parts of the world, they put, when they're using this sort of abbreviated date form, in Britain and I think most of Europe and some parts of Asia, they reverse the month and the date. So this is 9 July 2023. We would do it the other way around, just so you're aware. So no orders have been found for this date. So this is one of the kind of the things that's frustrating about the website. And again, I highly recommend just downloading the image right away and giving it a name that you can recognize later on. So just to kind of fill you in on what it looks like when you download this image, it will appear on the screen, and at the top there's kind of a computer list of what these columns are. So this is probably the registration number. This is the date that it took place and the address, the name of the person who was born, sex, male or female, father's name, mother's name. It says Margaret Wallace, formerly Lusk. This is the occupation of the father. They did not record the occupation of the mother, I think, unless it was a situation where the mother was the sole head of household, so like a widow or something like that. It might say something like a weaver. But for the birth records, that's an uncommon situation. This says the Mark X of Margaret Wallace mother, Duke Street, Carlisle. So X, I think this means that she wasn't able to sign it herself, maybe because she couldn't write, so they used X. And I've seen that for some of my other ancestors before. 17th January 1850. So this is the date of the registration itself. Note that the birth date is different, 8th January 1850. This is where the birth took place. And this is the name of the registrar, Adam Burrell. So this information is really, really useful to filling in the details of ancestors who are from Britain or Wales at that time. Again, the website is a little clunky to use. It's a little old school. But once you figure out how to use the search interface, and once you figure out how to download a copy of it, this is really hugely useful for your research. So I do recommend checking out this website if you do have ancestors or maybe relatives of ancestors who were born in the UK after 1837. Now, one thing to note, not only is this useful for your direct ancestors, this may be useful in the case where, let's say that you know that an older brother or a mother or a father was born, or maybe even an uncle was born in the UK, but then the rest of the family was born in the US or Canada or someplace else. You can get, by getting the information of the older sibling or uncle or whatever connection there can be, you can really find out a lot of information about where they lived. One thing that's really good about this is, unlike a census entry in the US where they usually never give the address, this does give the address. You can see exactly where they lived in a particular town. Now, in my case, this record is actually confirmed to me that it was not the family I was looking for. One reason is because the father's name doesn't match the information that we have on one of the son's death records from the 1920s, which listed a different first name. So we think that this is not the same family. But it was at least we could verify this. This was much better information that I could get on the family search indexes. Family search, by the way, they have a birth index for this type of record, but it doesn't include all the information that you need. And then also Family Search has an index for census records as well. So I was able to find some other information about this particular family, but it didn't include the father's name in my particular case. It also doesn't include the maiden name of the mother. So the UK GRO birth records are really a great resource in certain situations for ancestors or relatives or some other connection who was born in Britain or Wales in the 1800s. Note that it does not include Scotland and does not include Northern Ireland. I've done some similar videos for Scotland's people before, but I haven't looked into the Northern Irish records. I may do that at a future date, actually. So that's my little short tutorial how to use this particular resource. For more information on genealogy and using charts like this, go to easygenie.org. That's our official website. If you go to the front page here, you'll see information on how to get our paper forms. And also we have a fantastic blog and newsletter, and you can see all kinds of entries which can help you further your genealogy research. This is Ian from Easy Genie. Thank you so much for watching.